Back to the show, everybody. This is the upper tier, and this is your Premier League preview. Not giving it a match week because this is the midweek catch up. We're catching up on all these fixtures that kind of got postponed because of outbreaks and various things like that. Joining me as always for the preview, my man Dazzler Mystic Mac. How are we?
All good, brother Niall. All good.
Okay. Well, we've got 5 matches to preview tonight for you in this midweek catch-up week, as they say. And we'll kick it off Wednesday night, Burnley versus Tottenham. 2 teams that got big wins at the weekend.
I would say they're the 2 biggest shocks of the weekend. Would you agree?
They were the beat the bookie disasters.
They were the I was here on Saturday evening watching the City and the Spurs game, and I just said to the young fella, says, "Well, there's the coupon buster anyway," you know, and I'd forgotten obviously earlier on the Brighton and the Burnley game. Just as the goals are coming in, you were like 1-0, and he said, "Dad, it's 2-0." I'm like, what? Jesus.
And
3. Oh, yeah, lads, leave it out.
That scored 3 goals on season nearly.
Jesus Christ. Yeah. Now, the only thing I will say is we did preface it this slightly, didn't we? And we did say, why haven't they gone with, Dwight McNeil, Maxwell Cornet, flanking the big boy Weghorst? And they did.
They did.
And it worked a treat.
I did on Saturday. I hit you up on WhatsApp and I said, you must have been talking to our boy Sean Dyche because he followed exactly what you said and it reaped reward.
Absolutely. I genuinely think there's a bit of quality amongst the 3 lads. I really think the boy Cornet could play at a much better level than Burnley, if I'm honest. If they're relegated, I would 100% expect them to get out of there pretty sharpish. And I think the boy McNeil, obviously, he's an ex-United player, came up through the youth and stuff like that, looks to have a lot about him. And then Weghorst is the Dutch number 9 at the minute, so he's now shrinking violet either, he's a good footballer, this kid. And I did say, even with his height and stuff like that, he plays the ball pretty well with his feet. And I mean, you could see from Saturday, he can handle himself.
Yeah, there's a nice balance about him, isn't there? Even for a tall man.
Yeah, there really is.
Certainly nothing shrinking about him, that's for sure.
No.
What are you going for in this one?
I don't think you could go anywhere other than Spurs. But in saying that, would it not be typical Spurs to go out, beat City the way they did, and then drop points at Burnley? I kind of think it would.
Be very Spursy, wouldn't it? Very Spursy.
It would be very Spurs-like. It really would. I think this will be tough, mind you, because again, I'm not convinced by that Spurs backline. And again, if we see McNeil, Cornet, and Weghorst, they could give Spurs a lot of trouble. I'll say Spurs, but I'll say Spurs in a tight one. Let's go with Spurs 3-2 again. 2 on the bounce.
What's the chance of lightning striking twice? I'm going to go with Spurs as well, but I'm going to go 2-1. I'm going to go tight because I know it's like that pitch wouldn't be conducive of Spurs' play, really, in terms of the way they like to move the ball and stuff like that. But I think with Son back in the team, he was massive the other day against City. Unbelievable. Yeah. And he really... I just thought the ball for the first goal, how many other players in the league play that ball and don't shoot? I would say you could count them on one hand. Yeah. And I'm talking about good footballers, by the way, but I just think in that position, 99% of the lads go for goal there. Whether they score or not, that's that, because I was the one to take the opportunity. But he just seemed to stop play for a little bit and waited for everything to unfold, didn't panic, squared the ball, and Kulusevski comes inside through the legs of the City defender, and you just thought, whoa, that just happened there. That was unbelievable. It's a really great piece of play. Yeah, they say patience is a virtue.
Yeah, and I think sometimes I don't think sometimes, I think quite a lot of the time, these guys are really, really good footballers. They're panicking and they're snatching and they're letting the occasion get to them. These guys are doing this in training day in, day out. You've got to slow the whole situation down and just try and create a little more time for yourself and make things feel a bit easier, you know?
I think actually looking at it now that you mentioned it as well, it's something that I brought up in some of the match reactions for Liverpool when they get into that final third. It's too intense in terms of the other two thirds. And I think if they get into that final third and I don't mean slow it down, but I mean just pace yourself a little bit to make the right decision in the right moment. I think it would reap more rewards because I look at Liverpool stats as well and 21 attempts, but 5 or 6 on target. I think if they just slow it down a little bit, the quality is there. Just don't panic and take your time, and I think it'll reap more reward, So yeah.
I think the strange thing is with players, and especially players that are pacey, the idea is let's do it quickly. But you're so quick anyway. There's no need to do it overly fast and blow the opportunity because you're trying to get the shot in before someone gets back.
Yeah.
If Salah or Mane gets goal side of somebody, they're not getting back ahead of them. Once they use their body properly, and then it's all about just slowing it down, taking a breath, picking a spot, and put. You know what I mean?
Just a tad bit of patience in that
That's
moment.
Just
tad
a little
bit of patience. Mane is a prime example. Tad bit of patience that moment. He scored a bag load of goals.
I think so.
Next up, Watford versus Crystal Palace.
Yeah, two teams that were on opposite ends of a 1-0 win at the weekend, weren't they?
Yeah.
I thought Palace were very unlucky. They really, really were. We spoke obviously about, the performance they put in against Liverpool. You guys turned them over 3-1. Chelsea managed to beat them 1-0. Again, I felt like they dominated, a lot of the play, even without the boy Conor Gallagher. And I just thought they were so unlucky, Palace, not to get over anything out of the game or get over the line at all, really, Chelsea were poor. They really were. I suppose for Chelsea, it's a matter of it's 3 points and it's picking up and kind of getting the ball rolling again for them because they've had so many poor performances recently in the league and stuff like that. This has really started to accumulate. I think that's a big win for Chelsea in the manner of it and how late it was in the day and stuff, I think Watford again was a huge, huge shock, going and beating Villa like that. Now, if I'm right, I think I am, because these were the reverse fixtures from the opening day of the season. They battered Villa at Vicarage Road as well. Was it 4-2? On the first day of the season, every man and his dog had Aston Villa to win the game.
Yeah, I think they did.
Watford
I think you're right.
Them.
Yeah.
It was either 3, it might have been 3-2, but I'm pretty sure it was 4-2. And again, it was the boy Emmanuel Dennis. So, I mean, sometimes you can just feel confident against a team knowing that you've done them up like a kipper the first time. And I thought Watford played very, very well. I know Villa were wasteful at times, but I thought Watford defended very well, putting their bodies on the line, getting blocks in. I would call it a very, very typical Roy Hodgson performance from Watford,
I suppose the question is whether they'll have 2 of them in a row. That would be my concern.
And listen, and like if I'm Watford, if I can pick up 4 points every 3 games, win a loss and a draw, will that be enough to keep me up? It'll be close.
Oh, it would be, yeah. It would definitely would.
And I think that's what they're going to have to look for. If there's 12 games left, you can get 4 wins, 4 draws, 4 defeats. That'll do you. That'll keep you in the league. Can Hodgson do that? Absolutely, I believe he can. I really do. I rate Hodgson so highly, I have to say. I know things maybe didn't work out the way, he would have liked at Liverpool and stuff like that. But I mean, like the guys had Fulham and Middlesbrough in, European Cup finals. Like he knows what he's doing here. You know what I mean? He's he was big at Inter Milan. He did well at Grasshoppers at Zurich. He's been so good, so cultured, Roy Hodgson. He really, really has.
He's basic in his coaching methods, which probably works for these players, because I think if you get a bit too intricate for them, it becomes a bit too much for them. So I'd imagine he's quite plain and laying out a guy's job and what he wants him to do. The kind of style of play he's going to play. He's working with a bunch of players there that they aren't. I don't know. It's like they're not Premier League players, really, are they? Let's be honest.
Oh well,
they have a chance,
hodgepodge, isn't it, in there?
Yeah.
There's a couple of good players. We know the boy Sarr is a good player. I think Josh King has been good since he came in for them. I think the boy Emmanuel Dennis is very good. You know, at the back, they've had Backman and Foster swap the duties, two reasonably good keepers. And I think then, you know, we've obviously talked about the João Pedro and stuff like that. And there's good players in and around the squad. I think the back line is the biggest problem, you know.
That's where you get found out at this level, though, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think a lot of those guys wouldn't get games elsewhere or probably even be involved in squads, you know. Can they get something out of this? I think they can. Will they get something out of this? I don't think they will. I think Palace are going to be fired up for this because I think it's happened to them a few times now where they should have got something and they didn't. And I think Vieira is going to have them up for this. And I expect to see, you know, Palace at their absolute best with Gallagher back in the team and having had the rest under his belt as well. So I'm going to go 2-1 Palace.
Same, that's what I was thinking. Massive game coming up, the third game on the night. Liverpool versus Leeds. Liverpool's game in hand on Man City to reduce the gap to 3 points. Obviously, we've seen what happened yesterday with Leeds versus Man United. Once you got into a dogfight, the quality of that dogfight showed through, and especially the subs were pivotal for Ralph with Fred and Elanga coming on. Once you bring on that bit of quality, Leeds at the back really, really suffered. I can't see anything here other than a Liverpool win, especially being buoyed by the Spurs result that evening. I think Liverpool will go about their business. I think Klopp will have them focused. They won't be distracted by the final on Sunday. I think every game for us now is a cup final, and I think that's the way he's approaching it.
Yeah, I kind of looked at these two games, trapped in between the Inter games and with the cup final as well, you know. And I was thinking to myself, because I was picking my fancy football team, and I thought, you know what? I said, they're just close enough that every game matters at the minute. That, you know, maybe when you're putting someone into a team, you don't necessarily have to be worried about them getting pulled out. And I triple captained Salah for the two games. And he got 10 points at the weekend because he got the bonus points, the 2 for playing and the 5 for the goals. So we got 10, which tripled to 30. I fully expect to get another 30 on Wednesday night against Leeds. You know, from Salah, I think, you know, this could be floodgate stuff. It really could. If we look at Leeds the weekend, I think Leeds are going to be very, very tired after Sunday. You know, they were almost running in quicksand at stages. You know, they've another boy gone out. Obviously, the boy Robin Koch.
Yeah. Huge loss.
Another loss. You know, and they're getting down to their bones. Leeds again. I'd expect to see Rafinha start, I have to say. Yeah. Which will give them a little more, you know, potency up front. I think the boy Rodrigo will probably start with James and Harrison again. I think he'll go with that 4. You know, I thought Click was okay. Probably should have scored a couple against United and Dallas and stuff like that. But listen, I don't think this is going to be a big issue for Liverpool. I think Leeds they'll be resilient for a little while. But I think as soon as, you know, the second one goes in.
Yeah, I think Liverpool having the extra day's rest as well. Plus, I also think Leeds, like they went through, that was a tough battle against United in horrific conditions. But I also think with Liverpool, and I did a preview for the game as well on the Shankly sessions. The one thing I mentioned, looking at Harry Maguire and Bruno Fernandes, I think the game is tailor-made for Van Dijk and Konate, maybe to bag 1 or 2 off corners or set pieces. Because I think Leeds at the back.
Well, when you see how poor their marketing system was.
Well, you mentioned on the match reaction as well for the United game.
Yes.
The way they're sort of half zonal, half man marking, and they're caught between a rock and a hard place. And I think that just plays into the movement of the likes of a Van Dijk or a Matip or a Konate. And I think we'll see a couple of goals come from there. I did talk to a Leeds fan today, and he said, this could be double digits. I said, well, I'm not going that far, but if it is, I'd be very, very happy as a Liverpool fan. Absolutely. I don't see it going that far, but I do see it being somewhere in the 3 to 4 range. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I have 5-0 written down here. So I'm going 5.
And you're hoping all 5 from Salah, your triple captain.
Absolutely.
So me mentioning Van Dijk wasn't happy to you at all. Stop mentioning him.
Look at the way the lads are able to get in behind as well. Yeah. And there's nobody better at getting in behind than Salah. You know. Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's going to be 5. That's where I'm going with it.
Yeah, I'm expecting Trent and Robbo to come back in as well, and I think the quality from those two boys on the wings as well, I think it's going to be pivotal. But
yeah,
we shall see. Massive game. Have to get the 3 point. Look, I'll take a 1-0 if you offer it to me now. Boom, move on.
absolutely.
Straight away.
3 points is 3 points. You know,
absolutely. We move into Thursday. A really exciting game, I think. Arsenal versus Wolves. This is really exciting. I've been so impressed with the way Bruno Laga has come out and done what he's done with Wolves, considering the start they had at the start of the season. I think the turnaround has been phenomenal. And if he gets a top 6 or a top 4, he has to be in line potentially for a manager of the year as well, considering how they started the season.
Yeah, listen, I think he's done a super job. Really, really has. I watched the game yesterday again, and some of the stats that Sky were coming up, but I was like, Jesus, you know, the defensive record is phenomenal. Like, phenomenal. And, you know, we've spoke about Arsenal having difficulty at that end of the pitch. Arsenal aren't going to get the number of chances that they tend to get against the Norwich, the Brentford, the Burnleys. And I think, obviously, with the boy, it was great to see the boy Neto back at the weekend on the bench. The boy Podence looked quality again. We've mentioned him before. I mean, when they're going in with Neto and Podence flanking Jimenez, that's going to be pretty tasty.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
That's going to be pretty tasty with the boys they have in midfield and with the width that they get from Aït-Nouri and Semedo. Like, this is going to be tough for Arsenal.
I think also as well, he's a manager that a lot of clubs are going to be looking at, aren't they?
Yeah. You know, it was interesting again when I was watching the game. I didn't realise he had been number 2 at Swansea at one stage. And he'd only actually come into his own right. I knew he was Benfica manager, but he'd only done 18 months. So he's still in his infancy, we should say, as a manager. You know, he's probably only just like 2 years into his gig here. He's doing a super job. Again, the way they're playing, the way they're set up, it's good football. They're solid at the back. You know, there's not a whole lot you could crib about. The one thing I will say is, I think Wolves' recruitment has been
exceptional,
first class. First class. It really has. They've picked and pillaged that Portuguese league of quite a few footballers, you know.
And shout out to Nuno for the job he did.
Absolutely, you know, Nuno did a great job, and I mean, it's continuing now. Like, you know, the boy Podence, I love him, I really do. Yeah. I think he's very reminiscent for me of Eden Hazard, the way he plays and the way he moves the ball at his feet and stuff like that. That's sort of a blocky player, you know, but that kind of diminutive stature. I think he's a super footballer. I'm so excited to see the boy Neto. He was unbelievable before he had the knee injury, and I hope we get to see the best of him again. Jimenez still isn't right where I'd like to see him, but he's doing enough, you know. He is doing enough, in fairness to him. I think this is going to be tough for Arsenal. I don't think Arsenal like this 2 games in a week, because so far this season they've been tipping away at 1 a week, obviously, you know what I mean? I think Arsenal find this very, very tough, and I expect Wolves to get something out of this. I'm going to go with 1-1.
1-1. It's a kind of like, I don't know whether you'd say it this stage yet, but it's kind of like a top 4 decider, really, in terms of who stays in that top 4 race and who doesn't.
No, well, I think Arsenal are lucky because they've got enough games at hand to recover from something. But I think Wolves, you know, this is a bigger game for Wolves, because Wolves could beat Arsenal. It really throws them up there. I think Arsenal could drop points and still stutter along and get involved with it. I think for Wolves, this is slightly bigger because, you know, there's a lot of fanfare behind them now, and people are looking at them and going, right, well, what can you do now? You know, here's your opportunity at it. Can you reach for that brass ring? You know, I wouldn't be surprised to see Wolves get top 6. I have to be honest.
Yeah.
And to do that, they'll just pip West Ham and Arsenal. You know.
Imagine Wolves making the top 4. They'd have to build a statue for the man, wouldn't they?
Yeah,
I don't see it happening now. I don't see it happening. I'm talking it up a bit for the show.
I think that you know, it's going to be between Spurs and United for 4th and 5th. And then I think Wolves could end up just behind in 6th, though. which would be huge.
Yeah.
For Wolves.
Especially with the start they had.
Huge. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. You're going 1-1.
I'm going 1-0. Yeah.
I'm going to throw a spanner out there. I'm going to go Wolves win 2-1.
Very plausible.
Go Wolves win 2-1 because I'm quite excited about that top four race and the way it's shaping up. And I want it to kind of accordion in and get even tighter. You know, that kind of way. So like
we want to be on the last day of the season, you know, watching 2 or 3 games at the same time.
That's what I mean. I want to be on the last day of the season with maybe 4 or 5 in the mix.
Yeah. I mean, if you could get Spurs, United, Arsenal and Wolves all involved last day of the season, you know, that'd be great excitement for the neutrals, wouldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Excellent. Let's get into the final game then. Friday, Southampton versus Norwich. Our boy Ralph.
Yeah. Yeah, listen, I think this is going to be tough for Norwich. I think Southampton are really putting their foot in the accelerator at the minute. They've been so good in the last couple of weeks. Obviously, they getting the draw at Old Trafford, and they put everything to the sword then at the weekend. Comfortably, I might add. You know, this wasn't lucky. This wasn't. You know, they didn't just get over the line here. This could have been 3 or 4. If you look back on it, Everton were very, very poor. Southampton were super. They really, really were. Again, you know, I have to just say Ralph is doing a phenomenal job. When I look at the squad, like, I don't necessarily think, wow, but I don't also think, Jesus, that's shocking. There's quality there. We know there's quality there. But the way he's tying the whole thing together is very, very impressive, I have to say. And again, somebody mentioned it to me. A United fan mentioned it to me. How would you feel about, you know, Ralph as the manager with Ralph as the director of football? And that's obviously how things were at Leipzig, which it would revisit that. We could 100% end up with a worse manager than Ralph Hasenhüttl, I have to say. You know, I'm a fan. We've mentioned it a number of times. I know we're both big fans of him.
Yeah.
And I think tactically, he's exactly, you know, what United need. Because I think for so long, we've been buying these massive players and just hoping everything would gel. Whereas I think the addition of a Hasenhüttl with some good players, but some players that have attributes, you know,
Ward-Prowse,
you know, a Brozier as a 9 option, flanked by Sancho and, you know, somebody else, Sancho and Elanga. Like, that's just nice, you know. And I just think he's doing a great job. I have to say though, Dean Smith's doing a great job at Norwich as well. Got to give it to him.
Yeah,
really, really is. I know, you know, they put it up to you for, you know, 60 minutes the other day. Now listen, the quality shone through, and you expect it to, but they did okay, Norwich, I have to say. They created a lot of chances in that first half. Could have got more than the one. Obviously the goal that was disallowed as well and stuff like that, which was tight. But yeah, I can only see Southampton in this, but I think it will be close. So I'll go to Saints 2-1.
Yeah, I think this could be an exciting one. This could be like a Friday night one. So this is there could
this
be
is a Friday night one.
Yeah, but sorry, there could be a few goals in this. I'm thinking Friday night game. 2 teams both kind of showing a little bit of form. I wouldn't take too much out of the Liverpool game against Norwich, because Liverpool been slapping teams up anyway. But I think Norwich showed a little bit about them, that they could have a few goals in them. If Pukki had just learned to put the ball between the 2 white sticks, to be honest. But I think Southampton will be too strong for them, and I'm thinking 4-2.
Well,
4-2 Southampton.
That's the goals.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
4 is a lot for the Saints to score. That's the only thing I will say. You know, and Norwich aren't that bad at the back. They're much tighter than they were under Daniel Farke. But listen, I'm going to hear me, you know. I'm going to hear me. It's okay.
Yeah, I'm thinking the power of Brozier up against them, and I'm also thinking Ward-Prowse with those set pieces. Wouldn't be surprised if
top quality.
Yeah,
top quality Ward-Prowse really is.
Well, This has been your Premier League preview, midweek catch-up. It's kind of midweek, but it's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, so it's kind of midweek into nearly weekend type of thing. But we will be back with a Premier League preview for the weekend as well. Some great matches coming up this weekend as well.
Absolutely.
As always, the Upper Tier Podcast on YouTube, audio versions of the show, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music. If you want to contact the show, the Upper Tier Podcast at gmail.com. And we'll also be out, Darren. Where will we be? On
TikTok.
Till next time, my friend, a pleasure.
Thanks, my man.